What is up, family? Welcome back to the channel. Right now, what I'd like to do is introduce you guys or reintroduce you guys to the STW350. This is a 15-inch subwoofer by Peerless Tymphany. And this is one of my most favorite subwoofers that I've ever owned in my life. This thing here is massively built and constructed. And I did feel like, as though I did not give it the proper introduction during this debut here on the channel. So what I'm doing right now is I'm taking the opportunity to reintroduce it to you guys properly. So what do I mean by that? I was so excited during the initial unboxing of this thing that I missed out, or I left out, many key details about the subwoofer. A lot of you guys may look at this and say, okay, it's a powerful subwoofer, but there are many powerful subwoofers. What makes this thing so special? Why are you so excited about it? Well, today I'm going to go over a few key selling points or purchasing points that made this here subwoofer for me. And hopefully you guys will then understand my excitement about this subwoofer. First up, one of the key features of this subwoofer is this voice coil. If you guys will take a look inside, you guys can see off up into there, and you can see a whole lot of venting on the inside of this subwoofer. Now, for most people, they would think that that'd be part of the basket. But in actuality, those little holes that you see, all of that is the voice coil itself. This 15-inch driver actually has a 7.5-inch voice coil, which is massive. And there's goods and downsides to having a voice coil that big. To be honest with you, with that big of a voice coil, it needs more power to push this thing. Because it's so massive, it adds weight to the cone, which you need more power to push. On the pro side of it, it actually improves in power handling for this guy. Why? Because you can throw a whole lot of power at it without the voice coil overheating and causing the adhesion and things of that nature to unwound on you. So that's a pro. One of the key selling points for this subwoofer is the fact that it was designed to be used in small enclosures. Not only in a small enclosure, but the manufacturers actually would suggest that you put this in a sealed enclosure. Now, for most bass heads, using a sealed enclosure probably isn't the thing that you would want to do. But in this case, that's exactly what this thing was constructed for. That's coming straight from the manufacturer. But me personally, I do think that a ported enclosure is more efficient, especially when you're dealing with not that much power. And in the case of this thing here, it has an RMS rating of 3,500 watts. So you can kind of imagine the kind of power that you can actually put through this thing without it even blowing up on you or getting warm in that matter. As a matter of fact, the peak rating of this thing is actually 5,000 watts. But of course, I have no way of testing that because I don't have any equipment strong enough to push. The next thing I want to talk about with the Peerless STW350 is its voice coil. I know I've mentioned the voice coil before. I know some of you guys are probably getting tired of me mentioning the voice coil, but I want you guys to understand something about this subwoofer. Because if you go to purchase this subwoofer, what you're going to see is that it has a very low X-max. So what do I mean by that? It only has an X-max of about 10 millimeters on paper. Because what a lot of people don't understand about X-max is that an X-max is a simple, is not a simple number, but the number is composed of using a simple equation. And for you guys out there who don't understand exactly what I'm talking about right now, is that a lot of these parameters of these subwoofers is actually just mathematically formulated. So what do I mean by that? The voice coil, or the X-max in particular, what we're talking about right now, what I'm discussing right now, is actually composed of two other parameters. So you got the voice coil length. The X-max is equal to the voice coil length minus the magnetic gap divided by 2. So what are the parameters of the STW350? It has a 33 millimeter magnetic gap with a 57 millimeter long voice coil, and that's kind of how you get the 10 millimeters of X-Max from this subwoofer. So a lot of you guys will probably be wondering, well, why would you fall in love with a subwoofer that only has a 10 millimeter X-Max? Well, what you have to understand is that the X-Max is just a configuration of those two numbers. But if you were to look at those two numbers, you actually have a magnetic gap of 36 millimeters with but the voice coil itself is 57 millimeters long. So that means that in other words, you're getting about 90 millimeters peak to peak of excursion, or what they call travel. Okay, so how much throw this thing actually have is kind of like what you need to be focusing on with those exaggerated measurements that this thing has. So you're getting about, in the real world, you're getting about 45 millimeters of travel either way. So peak to peak, that would give you a total travel of 90 millimeters as stated before. So don't get fooled when you guys go to look at the specs of this and you see that it only has a 90 or a 10.5 millimeter of X-Max. That does not constitute what the actual throw, mechanical throw of this subwoofer is. Another thing I wanted to point out about this subwoofer that I found pretty cool was the mounting object options for it. Quite traditionally, you would have these mounting points right here, right along the edge of the basket. That's pretty standard, regardless of where you shop around at. But what you don't see that often are rear mounting options, right? Like you have right here. That is actually a rear mount option for you guys. So if I can get this thing to focus, there we go. So those little screw holes right there allows you to mount this thing from the rear. So why would you even need to do that? Well, the subwoofer itself, it's a 15-inch subwoofer, like I stated before, but the thing is kind of heavy. It's 65 pounds. So, you know, to get that extra mounting support to hold such a heavy object, you know, and plus with the force that this thing is actually going to be producing, to have that reassurance of a rear mount option is, to me, it was a good selling point. Another thing I wanted to bring to you guys' attention while I'm here at the rear of the subwoofer is the mounting. I mean, not the mounting, but the magnet of the subwoofer. Most people would see this and they would think that what they're looking at right here is the actual magnet of the subwoofer, but this is not the magnet of the subwoofer right here. This subwoofer actually, or Peerless, actually took a step extra when considering the magnet options for this subwoofer right here, and they actually went with an internal design for the magnet. So what do I mean by that? This right here, what you're looking at, is pretty much just housing for where the magnet actually is. If you guys were to, I'm gonna give you kind of an aerial view here so you can see what I'm talking about. This right here is the voice coil, okay? This right here is the voice coil. And to prove that, let me just push the cone in and out for you guys, and you guys will see right there, that's all voice coil. And if you're wondering where the spider is, the spider is actually right there. And that's the spider right here. Is pretty tough spider right there. It's actually, I don't know if that's dual or quad. I have to look at the specs on it, but pretty tough, pretty monstrous construction of this thing, and that's pretty much what you need when boasting a 5,000 watt peak power rating. But back to the magnet, like I said, this right here is not the magnet itself. This is just the housing for the magnet. The voice coil actually, the speaker, the STW350, actually has an internal magnet design. And what I'm going to try to do for you guys right now is try and get a shot of the magnet. So I may have to, let me pause it. I'll be right back with you guys. Okay, so right now I'm trying to position myself where the camera is aiming right through one of those little gaps in the voice coil itself, and I'm just going to be pushing inward on the subwoofer's cone so you guys can see what it is I'm trying to get you to see. I want you to try to look right through this little hole right here. Try to look through that hole. I'm going to try to reposition it. When I push it in, you see that? That's the voice coil pushing downward like that, and that's the top of the magnet, okay? That's the top of the magnet right there. So it's an internal magnet design for the subwoofer. So what are the perks to this? Let me pause it, reposition myself right quick, and I'll get right back with you guys on that. Okay, so what is the perk to having an internal magnet design? So the thing about constructing subwoofers, right, is that let me get this thing straightened up for you guys. I'm gonna put her down, put the camera down right quick so I can actually talk with you guys for a moment on this. So one of the perks to having an internal magnet design versus a traditional one is that, so in most cases, or in typical cases, traditional cases, in order for a manufacturer to achieve a more powerful motor force, what they would have to do is they would either have to make the magnet bigger, right, which increases not only the weight of the overall design, but also increases the cost of the overall design. And if, you know, and the weight, the size, and the cost of the overall design. Or that'll be option one, to increase the size of the magnet, or two, to choose a better type of magnet or a different type of magnet, which in most cases would be a neodymium type of magnet. You see those in the market a whole lot. They are smaller, they are more powerful. However, they are unstable when overheating. And a lot of, you know, people who deal with or who search for anything that got specs such as this, 3,500 watts RMS, 5,000 watts peak, you know, people like that tend to be throwing a lot of power at their items. So it's like, you don't want anything that's going to be that's not going to be stable at high temperatures. You see what I'm saying? So a neodymium would be a better option in some cases, but in cases such as this, Peerless did not decide to go with a neodymium, so option two was out the door for them because of the instability that it has, and it actually loses strength. Neodymium magnets loses strength under high temperatures as well. So what Peerless decided to do with this guy right here was that they mounted the magnet on the inside of the voice coil. Because the voice coil is so massive, they were actually able to do this with ease. Okay, so you have a internal magnetic structure. So what exactly are the perks to doing that? Well, the perks of having a internal magnet design is because traditionally, with the magnets being mounted externally in the designs of a lot of subwoofers and things, you lose about 50% of the magnet's energies in what is considered stray fields, magnetic fields. So the thing is like, while the magnet is on the outside of it, I mean, many designs traditionally have done that and have done that successfully, but with mounting it on the inside, Peerless was actually able to come up with a design that actually utilizes 90% of the magnet itself. So not only is this thing more reliable, unlike the neodymium ones at high temperatures, this thing is more reliable and more efficient in the fact that it uses 90% of the magnetic housing that's placed inside of this thing. So I think that's something that was also something to point out, and that was also something that was a selling point for me when I went and purchased the subwoofer. So it's come to the point where I actually just want to get off into some of the TS parameters of the subwoofer itself, which would be first coming up we will be talking about the FS. The FS, the frequency response of this subwoofer is actually 10 to 500 hertz. It has a sensitivity of 88.7. That's no surprise there. It's not going to have like a 90 something rating on sensitivity, because you're going to need some power to push this thing with that much voice coil. Okay, it has a voice coil diameter, as we talked about in the beginning, 7.5 inches of voice coil. It has a resonant frequency of 25 hertz. So this is truly a very efficient, I'm gonna say a very effective subwoofer with a frequency response of 25 hertz. It has a DC resistance. These parameters were actually done or configured with this thing here, configured in series. I'm sorry, not in series, in parallel, because this is a dual 8 ohm configuration. And just let you guys get a peek at the terminals right there. Those are the terminals and the leads right there. It's a dual voice coil configuration. Dual 8 ohms is what it is. You can wire it down to 4 ohms or up to 16. It was primarily built for theater systems, but of course you can put this in an audio system. In an auto audio system, which is what I had it. I actually had this in my car for a few months, and it sounds damn good. I got a few videos on that as well if you guys want to check that out. But I had to take it out of the car because I bit off a bit more than I can chew in terms of car audio with the current car I had. I didn't want it being shaken apart, so I took it out. It has a BL 24.1, believe it or not. Diagram mass. I know you guys will be wondering about that. The diagram mass is 578 grams. Okay, 578 grams. Surface area of the cone is 774 centimeters squared. Cone material is actually carbon fiber, paper carbon fiber. Surround material is rubber. Has a voice coil. The voice coil wire material is copper, and the former, believe it or not, is fiberglass. Okay, so you guys keep that in mind. The basket frame is made out of cast aluminum, and the magnet material itself is ferrite. So it has a ferrite motor in it, as we mentioned earlier. The outside mounting, for if you want some mounting information on it, the outside diameter of it is 15 inches, true. It has a baffle cutout diameter of 13.7 inches. Okay, it has a depth. You guys can, let me get a side view of it. It has a depth of 9.1 inches. It has a bolt circle diameter of 14.25 inch. Okay. The optimized volume enclosure for this is actually 2 cubic foot. And your sealed F3 will be around 42 hertz, which is pretty good, to be honest with you. At 2 cubic feet, that's pretty damn good. 42 hertz, especially for a subwoofer, 15-inch subwoofer. I think that's pretty cool. You don't really see that a whole lot. I mean, if you do, I haven't seen it. Maybe some of you guys, maybe some of you more experienced guys have, but I haven't seen that a whole lot. Typically, with enclosure volumes for 15 inches, they're ridiculous. To be honest with you, you need like 3 and 4 and 5 and 11 and 12 cubic feet for some of these subwoofers. And to say that this thing only recommends a vented volume of 2.8 feet to achieve 24 hertz, I think that's amazing. That is absolutely amazing. And for all the new guys to the channel, or who's seeing this for the first time, the reason why I even went out and purchased this is because I wanted a space-saving solution for my car audio system. And when I seen that this thing only called for 2.8 cubic foot, roughly 3 cubic foot, to achieve a 24 hertz frequency response, I jumped on it. It was just something that I wanted. I wanted so bad. I actually researched this thing for like 2-3 months before I actually caught it on sale and bought it. So I'm really, really happy about this purchase. And that's about it. I wanted to share with you guys. I kind of wanted to close with that piece right there because I know some guys are going to be watching this for the first time and probably wondering, yo, why is D like drooling over this subwoofer? It's a sub, get over it. But it's not just a sub. It's a lot of manufacturers ain't doing what this manufacturer's done, and I'm proud to be an owner of it. This is something that I plan on having for a while. I did not buy this full price. It wasn't even brand new when I bought it, but it performs. I can't tell the difference, right? I can't tell the difference. It still outperforms anything I've ever owned. And if something were to happen to this later on down the road, I wouldn't mind spending the money on it for what it actually costs. To be honest with you, you can get this for under $500. So I think it's a steal, and I will be keeping my eyes on a second one because I want to do a dual configuration, whether it be in my vehicle or in the house. Primarily in the house, it was really made for theater systems, but with it being a dual voice core, having dual voice core configuration, of course, that makes it car audio friendly. But enough of that. Enough of me yapping. I think I done made this one long enough. I'm going to cut it short right here with a shout out to all the people who supported the channel from the very beginning. Love you guys. Keep on watching. I'm going to keep on posting these videos. I plan on bringing better content to you guys, better audio equipment. All that stuff is on the way. For you new guys, don't forget to smash that like button, click the notification bell after you subscribe so you can see what else I have in store for this application. And until next time, it's your boy D, and I'm out.